Hi, I'm Eric. This is the Longbox Review podcast, and welcome to The Gutters, my audio journal. It's been a minute, I know, but thank you for listening in on what's going on in my life. I meant to do this actually earlier than now because I planned on doing basically every 4 months a new Gutters episode, but just hasn't worked out. And given everything that my wife and I have been doing with our family, the travels, and just kind of changing things up and wanting to do other things as well. But I decided that because we just got back from New York City, that I would just throw out this quick Gutters episode and talk just about that. Not that I haven't done anything since the Gutters episode. For example, we went to Las Vegas for a few days to celebrate Maddie's 21st birthday, which is actually several months from now, where we saw Bruno Mars, for example. I also went to a wonderful Indigo Girls concert in Portland, Oregon. And then finally, more recently, we spent a week on the Oregon coast, where I got a new tattoo. So on my right shoulder is the Superman symbol, the S shield, to represent my love of comics in general. But there's another fandom, and those of you who know me pretty well probably could guess what this is. But I got a tattoo to commemorate that, which was done by Tiburon Tattoo, which is done or owned by Doug, my brother-in-law. And so all of us, all the adults got tattoos one day while we were in Oregon. I also visited Robert's bookshop and bought a bunch of stuff there, which I may actually do a video on. I was thinking, or maybe just doing it audibly. An audio podcast about it. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing things a little differently and whatnot. But anyway, we're not here to talk about all that. Well, I'm not here to talk all about that. I'm here to talk about our recent trip, our 3 full days and half a day, 3.5 days in New York City. And the reason we went to New York City again, my wife found out that Bon Jovi was going to do a series of concerts, 9 of them in total, actually. I found out later, but she wanted to go see Bon Jovi again, and he has not toured in 4+ years, something like that. And if you don't know, he's had some issues with his throat, with his voice, and there was even I think a Netflix documentary about it that we watched. And so this is his big return to, putting out some new music, perhaps down the road, but getting back into touring and testing out his voice. More on that later. So that was the start of our New York City trip, and then somehow it transformed into. Well, I know how it transformed into this. We had some neighbors in our old neighborhood, Rob and Charity, that, we were just kind of, as Rob put it, waving neighbors. We didn't really hang out much for, the about 20 years that we lived in that neighborhood. We talked a little bit and hung out maybe once or twice, but we didn't really, spend a lot of time together. And then right at the end, because, we like these people, they're good neighbors. Right before we moved, we went out with them and had a good time. Rob told us that we were, or that we had inspired him and his wife to get out and do more stuff because we were doing that, and we were moving, and they eventually moved out of the neighborhood too. Anyway, so I remember what it was. Now, why we ended up going, or they ended up going with us to New York City, is that because Rob knows that we are big 80s music fans. And they had invited us to go to a concert at a casino that we have or had over in Idaho. And we saw, what's her name? Liz? No, not Liz. It was Lita Ford, and with special guest Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. And so anyway, we went to that. We had a great time. Kitra found out about Bon Jovi. She must have mentioned it to him, and Rob's a big Bon Jovi fan. So because of that, we ended up all deciding that we were going to go to New York City together, go see the concert, see some shows, do some touring and fun stuff. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. So it didn't start off well because we had what turned out to be a 4-hour flight delay. We were told that it was weather related at first because there was a lot of rain that was being dumped on New York in that area for a while, and that means more fog. But then later in the day, we found out, oh yeah, it was that, but also, and probably most prominently, because of the lack of air traffic controllers in or at JFK airport. So, thank you, President Cheeto and Elon and the Doge crap, all that stuff. Anyway, so we ended up leaving 4 hours later than we intended, which actually put us in at 11:30-ish Eastern time. Anyway, we also had these crappy seats. Kitra, when she booked the seats, she found a couple exit row seats. And so we're like, oh, great, exit row seats. And there was only 2 instead of the 3 because there were 3 to a row normally, but these exit seats were only 2 a row. So we're like, yeah, score. And then we get there and we find out that they don't recline and there's not a lot of legroom. So what it looks like to me when they built this plane or they refurbished it, I don't know. It looks like instead of the 2 exit rows that you would normally see in a plane of this size, where there is extra legroom, that they moved the seats a little bit and were able to fit 3 rows of exit seats. And the flight was not comfortable. I'll just put it that way. So we just so you know, on the way back, because she had booked those same seats on the return flight, she changed those to seats where we actually could recline. Anyway, like I said, we got in about 11:30. We had about an hour long, slightly less than an hour long cab ride, about midnight or so, and which cost us almost $100 because of, it starts off, they advertise on the taxis a flat fee for airport rides, which starts, I think, at $70 or what was it, $73? I don't know. It was around $70, but it ended up costing us because of congestion fees, taxes, or whatever they are. There was a toll going over one of the bridges. I'm not sure why the taxi driver went that way. And I know. I'm sure some of you were thinking, why'd you take a taxi? Just take an Uber or a Lyft or whatever. And I'm like, I'm kind of over taking these private drivers. Whereas, while the prices are, better-ish, I just feel more comfortable taking someone who's actually licensed and whatnot, from a company standpoint and state laws and all that stuff. But anyway, we get to our hotel, which is in Times Square, the Hotel Edison, which is a nice centrally located and cost-effective hotel in Times Square. But we end up, we get there, we get unpacked. By the time we get to bed, it's 2 a.m. Eastern time. And that is after we went down the street because Kitra's like, oh, I'm hungry. And I was too by that point. And of course, it's 2 a.m. local time, which means it was 3 hours before that. So 1 to 11. Why were we hungry? I don't know. But we should have gone to bed anyway, but right then. But she was hungry, so we walked down the block to Carve, which is a restaurant nearby, and had I had a slice of pizza. I forget what Kitra had. I think she had pizza too. No, she had a sandwich. Both very good. I like that place. We've been there before. But what was interesting because we went right after the 4th of July, extravaganza in New York City. There was a bunch of Navy personnel that were still in town, and that place was half filled with naval. Some of them were officers. No, I think they were all enlisted. Anyway, but they were walking around and they were having a good time in Times Square because at least one or two of them were a bit inebriated and talking really loud, but it was all cool. No big deal. It was just interesting to hear, listen in on their conversations about stuff and complaining about their COs and and whatnot. But anyway, so then like I said, we went back to the hotel room, went to sleep, 2 a.m., had to be up. I swear to God, it was like 9 o'clock. So, not a lot of rest time, but that's fine. And the reason that we had to get up early-ish was because Kitra had booked a boat tour of the Hudson River so that we could see, or, Rob and Charity could see the Statue of Liberty. For me, it's the second time around. And we got a tour of that area on the water. And so we got to see, stuff on the shoreline of New York City, some interesting structures and buildings, a little bit of history. And, also the guy who even pointed out some stuff over at New Jersey. So I thought that was, just across the river from each other. So that was kind of cool. And that was with Circle Line Tours. And found out that the USS Intrepid, which is moored there and is a tour site, the aircraft carrier. There's also a submarine there. But I found out that the space shuttle USS Enterprise is housed somewhere. I think there was this big building. I think it was in there. And I'm like, what? I have to go now. Unfortunately, could not make it on this trip, but now I have to go back because I've toured other ships before, most notably in Hawaii and Oahu. And I just like that kind of stuff. And but being able to see the Enterprise shuttle, that's a must do down the road. Plus, then that way we can go back and watch more Broadway shows. We had lunch at a wonderful Irish pub, McCarthy's. I don't remember what street that's on, but it was a find. We were just walking around looking for something for lunch, and I just happened to spy this Irish pub. And I'm like, what do you guys think? And they're like, yeah, why not? And we ended up not only having some good food and some good Irish beer. We watched the end of the football match between Argentina and Egypt, and how Argentina came from behind and ended up winning that match, which was very exciting. I don't really have a foot in the game, as it were, with when it comes to football or soccer, but it was cool to be among a bunch of football fans that were watching the game, including the waitstaff, and a few times after there was a big roar of the crowd, somebody from the kitchen would, because we were seated nearby, somebody would rush out and look at the TV. It was just a lot of fun for me to watch all this and be part of that. And then, of course, the main event of why we came to New York City that night was the Bon Jovi concert at Madison Square Garden. It also happened to be my lovely wife Kitra and my 36th wedding anniversary on that day. So we got to celebrate our wedding anniversary in New York with some friends and Bon Jovi. So and going to Madison Square Garden has long been on Kitra's bucket list. Turns out it's long on Charity's bucket list as well. And I have to say, after all these years of hearing about Madison Square Garden, either on television shows or mentioned even on, I think, Warner Brothers cartoons. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why my go-to is always the Warner Brothers cartoons, but I learned a lot about the world and life from Bugs Bunny and the rest. But I expected it to be like, massive, and it really wasn't. But it was a good music venue, which is why I think John Bon Jovi chose to do the only American, or the American leg of his tour only at Madison Square Garden, because he was performing 9 nights at Madison Square Garden and then going over to Dublin, and I think it's either Edinburgh or London, and then one other place that I'm forgetting. But anyway, that's it. That's all he's doing. So being a big Bon Jovi fan ever since Slippery When Wet. And my wife, even at the beginning there, she once I think the self-titled album, which was the first, she was a big fan of Bon Jovi then. I have to say, it was great to see the band again and listen to that music live with a crowd that was fully into it, fully supportive. I'm there. It was really, what was really cool actually was seeing so many younger people. And now I don't know if they were dragged there by their elders or if they're fans too, but I saw a lot of younger folks, wearing Bon Jovi materials and, rocking out. And by rocking out, I mean, they were standing up and filming most of the concert, but millennials. But I have to say, poor John, his voice it was not great. He did his best. He sang his heart out. But the performance was not wonderful. It wasn't like the old days. It wasn't like the old days for sure. My wife may disagree with that opinion, but, which we have talked about, and we definitely have different views, but, I wish him well. He's like I said, he's one of my favorites from the 80s. So, but, definitely not there. Not like the old days, but who isn't, right? I mean, one of my favorite singers, Rick Springfield, he's now 70, he'll be 77 this year. And, his voice isn't what it used to be either, but they're still out there, still making music. I mean, that's the important thing. They're still performing. They're still, bonding with the crowds. And man, let me tell you, one of the things I like about Jon Bon Jovi is how he plays the crowd and how he interacts with the crowd, and he gets them stirred up. And I can really appreciate him as a front man for sure. But this was the first time in all the years that my wife and I have been going to Bon Jovi concerts, and we've been to quite a few over the years, where he looked touched by the response. He even said at one point that it was really great to be back performing, to hear the roar of the crowd, to see everybody. Called us friends a few times. I know he's just pandering a bit, but but there were a couple times where, especially at the end when they were done after they did their encore, where everybody else has left the stage, but he lingered. Had his hands on his chest, looking out at the crowd. He was in awe of the response, and he was just taking it in. And I really appreciated that. He really felt something from us, and I think we felt something from him based on that. And despite the issues with his voice, I appreciate the effort, and I appreciate his appreciation of it all. So, anyway, great way to spend our anniversary. And the trip continued the next day. We did one of those hop on, hop off bus tours so that Rob and Charity could see see Manhattan, which, I've done that tour now twice. So I was like, but it was fun. We ended up getting out or hopping off the bus at the 9/11 memorial, and doing not really shopping, but window shopping, I guess, in the what do they call that? The Oculus, which is this underground shopping center. Also they have bathrooms for those that in case you're planning a trip to New York City based on this podcast. Just know that public restrooms are few and far between. At least in Manhattan. But we did that. We ended up going back to Times Square and having lunch, a late lunch at Serendipity 3, which was on Rob's list of things because I found out he does what I do, which is watch a lot of YouTube videos and decide, oh, that looks good. Let's go there, or let's try that. And this is one of those. This actually is one of the places that Madison wanted to go to, but we couldn't fit it in for whatever reason last time. But this is the home of the frozen hot chocolate, and which I did not try. But what I did have for lunch was the Sunday chicken dinner sundae, which is they take a nacho cheese sauce, fill up the bottom. It's this big bowl, big sundae bowl. Like I want to say it's like maybe 6 inches across and 4 or 5 inches deep. And so they fill it up or put in some nacho cheese sauce, some fries, and mashed potatoes and a little bit of peas on top. And then they stick 3 large chicken strips with a little bit of buffalo sauce on it. And that's what they give you. It's hugely difficult to eat out of this mound of food in this sundae bowl, this elevated sundae bowl. But I managed it, and it was delicious. It was too much food, but it was delicious. And then just because, we were already stuffed to the gills, we had dessert. My wife and I shared a sundae, which was served. So 3 different scoops of ice cream and some fresh strawberries and bananas on top. But it was served in this really narrow cone shape sundae dish that was, I want to say, like 8 inches tall. Made it very interesting basically what happened was the strawberries and bananas and the whipped cream that they were kind of attached to just kind of fell onto the plate below. So anyway, it was delicious though. Delicious. But it's like, we were supposed to have dinner that night somewhere, or we were going to get some food at the show that we went to see, but we were so stuffed that we didn't do that. So what we ended up doing after that is we went and rested, took a little nap because good God, I needed it. Everybody needed it. That was the day where the sun returned and it was like 85, 87 degrees that day, and after all that rain they had, it's pretty humid. So I think we ended up going back and showered because we were just drenched. And then took a nap. But then that night we went to see Hamilton. Now, I have seen Hamilton before. I've seen the traveling Broadway version of it in Spokane, Washington. I've seen the original cast in the Disney Plus movie that they did. And I think I may have seen it one other time. I don't know. I don't remember at this moment, but I had not seen Hamilton in New York City on Broadway. And so we went there. Wonderful performance. The actor who played Aaron Burr was phenomenal, as was the actor who played Thomas Jefferson and Lafayette. The guy, and the actress who played the sister that Hamilton married. I'm blanking on her name. Eliza. I was just in my head. I was thinking of the song that they sing to announce or to introduce the sisters. Anyway, so she was phenomenal. She kind of looked like and sounded like Philippa Sue, who originated the role. But the gentleman who played Hamilton, while I appreciated his performance and the choices he made as an actor, he was not. He didn't quite have the presence that, say, Lin-Manuel Miranda did. But I'm like, but that's not fair, right? Because Lin-Manuel Miranda. But I will say that this guy was a better singer than Miranda. So anyway, it was a great show. That second half, where their son Philip dies, and then the whole affair thing, and that where Eliza decides to take herself out of the narrative. That song where she finds out about the affair. Oh man, I was just bawling through those moments, which tells me that I really appreciated the show. And Rob and Charity had never seen the show. They knew of it, but I don't think they've ever been to a musical. I think maybe. Anyway, Charity was definitely moved. Rob really appreciated it, the show, and we just had a good time talking about it. And then we went back, and I think, because it was such a heavy day in terms of the temperature and everything that we were doing, they were ready to go back and hit the hay. But Kitra and I decided to go down to the bar that's attached. There's actually 2 bars attached to this hotel. And we went to the one, Bon 45, that we went to last time we were in New York City. And just had a drink and some snacks, and had a good time together. Sort of a post, or next day anniversary, just, hanging out together type of thing. So that was lovely. I just really have been enjoying doing these trips and spending time with my wife. And then the next day, our last full day, Kitra had booked a food tour through Ahoy New York Tours and Tasting, which I highly recommend. My wife, I asked her later, how did you find, because she mentioned that there was a long list of places, and she just happened to find this one and booked it just by happenstance, I guess. But it was amazing. Our tour guide, Liz, was phenomenal. Not only did she take us around to all these various places and have us try all this various food from Chinatown and a little bit from Little Italy, she gave us the history involved with the food and the place and the people, which I loved. It was wonderful to know the context for all of this stuff. But of course, the star of the show was the food. And so I'm just going to tell you what we had and where, in case, again, if you're planning a trip to New York City based on this podcast episode, just book the tour with Ahoy Tours and do that Chinatown Little Italy food tour. But this is what we had. We started off at the Silk Road Cafe, had some pork buns that were from Feda Bakery, but we had some jasmine green tea at Silk Road, and it was just a wonderful way to start. And then that jasmine in the tea just made the tea just wonderfully sweet without any sweetener. She gave us some history and whatnot, like I said. Then we moved on to having some vegetable and pork dumplings, or AKA pot stickers, at Tasty Dumpling, which were the best pot stickers I have ever had. And I've had a lot because my wife loves pot stickers and orders them wherever she goes. I thought they were wonderful. My wife, not so much. But I thought they were great. And then we were supposed to go to another restaurant, but it was really busy. It was filled with locals. And that was one of the things that Liz talked about was she goes to places, and this is general travel advice that you get from anybody like Rick Steves and whatnot, or Samantha Brown, who's two of my favorite television tour guides, is to keep an eye out for where the locals eat. And that was the case for one of the restaurants we were supposed to go to. She popped in and saw that it was filled with a lot of the locals and a lot of the elderly locals. And so she told us, she does not want to take away space from the elders that go to these places. So she got things to go, and we ended up going to standing near Columbus Park, but because for some reason the gates were closed, and she's like, I don't know what's going on. But she had grabbed some sponge cake from, I think it's Kum Hing Coffee Shop, and Tony's Rice Rolls, as well as, I think they were matcha Chinese sponge cakes, as well as some honey roasted duck from Hey Hey. And so we ate those there, and delicious. And I'll talk a little bit more about the sponge cake later. We then went to Piemonte Ravioli Company and had some gnocchi with this wonderful tomato sauce. This probably one of the most delicious tomato sauces I've ever had, because they make it out of, and I forget the name of the tomatoes now, but Liz told us about this. These particular tomatoes from a specific region in Italy, and it was divine. Then we went to Benito One, little Italian restaurant there. It had some eggplant rollatini, along with some cheese, a couple cheeses, a sheep cheese and a goat cheese, I think it was, along with an olive from DiPaolo's Fine Foods, which we actually stood in. And she talked about it because there's no, it's a cheese and meat shop. There's no, it wasn't a restaurant. So, but she gathered the cheeses there, and then we had it later at the Benito Ones. Delicious cheese. I've never really, I think I've had eggplant once, but it was a breaded eggplant that was surrounded in this. Was it a pasta or just cheese? I forget now. It must have been wrapped in a pasta and then cheese on top with tomato sauce, which was not as good as the one I just mentioned from Piemonte. But still delicious. And I now will consider ordering eggplant stuff at Italian restaurants. Oh! Before I finish this up. At the very beginning, I should have mentioned this. Sorry. At Silk Road Cafe, Liz wanted to know. So, why are you here? What are you interested in? What's your experience with Chinese food or Italian food and blah, blah, blah. And so we talked about that. And when it was my turn, I mentioned that my wife and I basically have only had American Chinese. And then when it came to the Italian food part, I said, I don't really like Italian food based on the food that I've had. And so it was, she took it as a challenge. Oh, right off the bat. And I have to say, like the gnocchi and that tomato sauce, the eggplant, all good stuff. And, that stuff I could get into, but the stuff like any Italian place here in America I've ever been to, it's just, I found them wanting. Same, quite frankly, with the Mexican restaurants that we go to. I just find them wanting. So anyway, I was glad that I was able to encounter some Italian food that I actually enjoyed. And now, damn it, I have to go back and and try some of these other places that are in Little Italy in Manhattan and elsewhere too. But anyway, we ended our trip with a visit to Ferrara's Bakery and Cafe for some cannoli. And Liz told us that Ferrara's is famous for their cannoli, and they make it differently than most other places. And oh my God, it was so good. So delicious. And then, at the end, we were just kind of talking, and she asked us all, what was your favorite thing? What did you, how do you feel about this? What did you get out of this? And I was just like, This has been amazing, being exposed to all this delicious food. But man, those sponge cakes, and I think they were matcha because they were green. It may have been something else, but it was this kind of like this light, these sponge cakes are the size of nearly the size of a softball, a little flatter, of course. But they were kind of a light green, and then you took a bite of it, and the inside of it was this brilliant emerald that was just astonishing to see. But that sponge cake was the best thing that I stuck in my mouth all week long. And now, and the first thing I did after we got back, well, maybe it was the next day, but I was looking for any Chinese bakeries in my area, in Vancouver or Portland. I think I found one in Portland that serves sponge cakes. And so now I have to go over there and try them all out because they were so good. Slightly sweet, not overly sweet, spongy, obviously. I just, the mouthfeel of chewing that sponge cake, it was just so good. So good. And it was criminal that we didn't go back to Kumhing or Kumhing. I can't read my freaking notes. I wrote this all at longhand last night instead of typing it out like I normally do. So I'm not sure if that's an A or a U. Past Eric, bad job. Anyway, so then we ended the tour, and it was just great. And so we had a show to go to. eventually. And I think again, we took a short rest and then got up and went to see Wicked, which I have seen 3 or 4 times, at least 4 times. I'm pretty sure it's 4 times. And I'm not counting the movie, but Wicked is one of my very favorite shows. And so we went and saw Wicked, and because I haven't seen it on Broadway, I've seen several of the traveling Broadway shows, and it was great. The gal who played Galinda was awesome. Elphaba was really good as well. But man, the actress who played Galinda just had a little bit more stage presence, I want to say. But everybody was really good in that. I think some of the sound was not, the sound production in that show or that performance we saw was not great. But, regardless, I loved it. It's still one of my favorites. And then we all 4 gathered for drinks at the Rum House, which is one of the other bar that I mentioned that's attached to the hotel, where they were playing there was a 3-man band playing 30s jazz, and it was freaking wonderful. I tried rum punch for the first time, just because I wanted to continue that whole idea of trying new things that we did with on the food tour. And then, Friday was our fly back home day. Get up to the news from Alaska Airlines that the flight, there's some sort of weather thing, and the flight could be delayed. Spoilers, it wasn't, thank God. But it's like, well, that's a great way to wake up on your last day in New York City. But we gathered and had breakfast at one of the restaurants downstairs. And after that, Kitcher and I got ready, got packed, and we just went to the airport early because we were just so tired. I really, really wanted to go and, revoke my geek card if you must, but I really wanted to go to Jack Kirby Way and take a photo of that. But I was just exhausted, and I didn't feel like, after showering, get out there and sweating some more in that humidity and then fly home. So, next time for sure. So in my mind, Kitcher and I are going to go to New York by ourselves. I'm going to go see or do the Intrepid Enterprise tour. I'm going to go to Jack Kirby Way. We're probably going to go to Cat's Deli, because that was the one place that Rob kept talking about wanting to go, and it just didn't fit with whatever we were doing. And so we'll do it some other time. And so then we went to the airport and hung out for, I want to say 5 hours, something like that. But it was okay because I was listening to podcasts. Also, when I fly, that's what I do. I listen to podcasts. So that allowed me to I think I must have listened to a good dozen podcasts in my queue. And I still have so many episodes of things I want to listen to. And, we get home and at a fairly reasonable hour too. So, because of all the reverse time difference that we get. And that was our New York City trip. Yeah. So, let me know if you have any questions about traveling to New York City, based on the 3 short times I've visited. Like I said, that food tour was probably my favorite thing to do, even over the shows, and definitely Bon Jovi. So anyway, there's that. And normally on the gutters, I do some stuff where I talk about podcasts I listen to, which I just mentioned. I listen to a bunch of them. I guess I'm going to, because it just occurred to me that my friend Peter from the Legion Project and CGS is now back doing daily episodes for the Daily Rios. So he's coming out with these just short 12, 15-minute episodes about a topic that he wants to talk about, unlike this 40 or so minutes. I'm looking at the recording for something I was going to do. I was hoping would be like 15, 20 minutes, but oh well. So make sure you go check that out if you're not subscribed to the Daily Rios. Because it's been a while since you put out an episode. Keep that in your podcast feed retriever, whatever they're called. Wherever you get your podcasts, and listen to Peter. Some great CGS episodes have been coming out lately as well. Speaking of that, but I will say the other thing I normally talk about is things that I've been watching on television or movies or whatever. I'm not going to do that except with this exception. I did go see Supergirl. So the weekend after we got back from the Oregon coast, Maddie and I went to see Supergirl in the theater, and I thought it was pretty great. I know that the box office numbers were not good, and I've been seeing a lot of haters out there on social media, YouTube videos, like, screw you guys. This was a pretty good movie. Millie Alcock was phenomenal in the role. I love the story. They made a lot of changes compared to the comic book series that it was based on. But what they did with it, I thought, well, with one exception maybe, I thought was fine. It's not that I don't have some quibbles with it. Who doesn't? But I loved Supergirl's story. How Krypto is her last vestige of Argo City and Krypton, her family. There's a scene in there where she flies up and she's just had it. She's thinking about home and what she's lost and what she's dealing with Ruthie, and trying to keep Ruthie on the path of good and not succumb to revenge and what that would do to her. And there's just a scene in there that I knew it was coming too. It was telegraphed, but I was totally for it. I was totally into it. And I just think about it. And I just, it's so powerful, in the execution of it. And I loved what the, director and the sound designer or whatever did with that. It makes me want to go watch that movie again. Like I said, I just really loved how, how this story of Supergirl and what she's going through. There's a bit of an origin story, how she arrived on Earth and encountered her cousin Superman, and what that means, and how this movie differentiates her from her cousin. Well done. I thought it was well done. And I like this version of Supergirl, who the one character who has to deal with the loss of Krypton in the way that she does, versus Cal or Clark, who has no direct experience with that. So I love that take on this character and how that makes her different, and how that makes her, or how what her choices are based on that, how she was raised and what she's lost. Anyway, I love all that stuff. Now, I thought there was too much Lobo. Now, I loved seeing Lobo. I love Jason Momoa as Lobo. I'm fine with him, being Aquaman and now being Lobo. But I didn't like how he, I'll just say, saved her in one scene. That should come from her. And I also didn't like how a certain character had the last word in her movie. But, maybe that's their way of transitioning to what comes next. I don't know. I felt like this is a Supergirl movie. Everything should revolve around that character, not other characters. But, whatever. We'll see where things go to next. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Millie Alcock, seeing her as Supergirl again, and what she does with the character going forward. So anyway, if you haven't seen Supergirl, go see it before it's out of the theaters. But I'll definitely I will be buying the disc, the Blu-ray disc of this. I'll watch it when it's streaming, because I quite enjoy this. In fact, I think I liked it just a bit better than even Superman, and I like that quite a bit. So anyway, there you go. This is an overly long The Gutters episode. Actually, it's probably on par for other episodes, but Not my intention. But anyway, I'm back doing this, and maybe I'll have one more of these before the end of the year. We shall see. So, but I have some other plans for some other things going on. I've got one episode, comic book related episode that is recorded and will be out in August. And I got a couple recording sessions planned with some folks. One person in particular that I haven't talked to in a very long time, and I've missed him horribly. And then also another person I haven't talked to in a while. We're going to finalize what it is we're going to talk about, because I suggested a change last minute. So now poor Mike has to deal with that. I'm sorry about that, Mike. But I think what we're going to talk about will be a much better conversation. But we shall see. Anyway, hope you're looking forward to that. Also, I'm working on, well, what I was supposed to release next was a new episode of The Center Seat and a new direction, a new thing I want to do with it. So be on the lookout for that. So this just happened to be, timely in terms of being able to let you know, give you folks, if you've listened this long, a little preview of what's to come. So anyway, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. And if you have anything you want to say about this, or even suggestions for visiting New York City, please let me know. Email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. You can leave voicemails or text me at 208-953-1841, or you can just converse with me on social media at longboxreview. With that, I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. My father has two faces now. One old, wisps of hair, unkempt beard, eyes dragged down by time. Two, still, collapsed by choice and inevitability. This face is immobile, immovable, forever etched. So too is the first, but built on smiles, care, wisdom, stories now silenced, forever.